Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our special Parkinson's Awareness Month webinar. Today, we're going to explore how to find Parkinson's support through various programs, groups, and resources. And our goal is really to empower you and your loved ones with the knowledge to navigate this journey effectively. So we'll look at different types of support available, helping you understand what might be the best fit for your unique situation. And I'll just do a brief introduction of myself and my colleague, Jenny Tucito. My name is Beth Peterson. I'm a speech language pathologist and an LSVT Loud faculty instructor. I also manage our ongoing webinar program, so webinars such as this, and then also webinars for LSVT Loud and LSVT Big certified clinicians. We also launched a podcast last year that I host called Think Big and Loud. So we have those monthly as well. And so those are some of the main roles I have with LSVT Global. And Jenny, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny Tucito. I am a physical therapist, and my current role is the Director of Innovation and Communications with LSVT Global. But prior to transitioning into this role, I spent 21 years in clinical care, neurological rehabilitation, and so I'll be sharing some of that feedback and information with you later after Beth wraps up her slides.
All right, thank you, Jenny. And for a little more in-depth information about us, you have our presenter biographies that will be in your handout. And in terms of disclosures, Jenny and I both have non-financial and financial relationships to disclose. And non-financial relationships for both of us include a preference for LSVT Loud and LSVT Big as treatment techniques. And our financial relationships include that we're both employees of LSVT Global and receive lecture honorarium from LSVT Global. I'll just briefly cover some webinar logistics, so you know what to expect today. Right now, everyone in the audience, your microphones are muted just to make sure that we don't have background noise from the various environments where you're joining us from. But if you want to ask questions, and this will be especially pertinent when we have some Q&A time towards the end of the presentation, you can type your question in the question box on your webinar control panel. And you can type at any time, and we'll get to that at the end of the presentation. You can also raise your hand. We'll see that you have a hand raised, and then we'll let you know that we're unmuting your microphone. We'll call out your first and last name to unmute your microphone, and then you can ask your question out loud to the group, and we can answer it that way. And at the end, I'll also display an email address. If you think of a question after the presentation, you can always email us. We're happy to answer questions afterwards as well. In terms of handouts, so before the webinar, you should have got a reminder email. I think it's sent about an hour ahead of time. And we have two handouts for today. One is a handout of the slideshow that you're seeing, and we'll cover together. The other is a resource handout. So you'll hear today, we'll talk a lot about different organizations that have these different supports and resources and groups. And so we compiled a list of some of the ones that we know. It's certainly not exhaustive. Thankfully, there's many organizations out there doing great work in the area of Parkinson's, but we put together a list to get you started. We welcome your suggestions too. If you have other resources that you want to see added to that, we're happy to make that, kind of a living document and keep that updated. But that's a handout that you have. Jenny will also drop those in the webinar chat. So in case you didn't get them in that email before, you can access them directly in the presentation. There will also be an email that goes out, I think it's about 24 hours after the presentation, and it will include a link to those handouts as well. There will be a survey at the end of the webinar. It will pop up on the screen. We appreciate if you take it. It should take less than 5 minutes. It just helps us, know what you liked, what you didn't like, what we can improve, just overall your webinar experience so that we can make sure that these are, best tailored to the people who are viewing them. And so that webinar will pop up. It will also be sent in that follow-up email if you're not able to take it after viewing the webinar today. And then I'll go over continuing education units. So if we have any physical, occupational, or speech therapists in the audience, this webinar can be reported for CE, or self-reported, I should say, for CE activity. We don't have it ASHA or state registered for CEUs, but you will receive, or you can receive a certificate for attending, and then you can maintain that certificate in your own records, and so that you have that to show that you have this continuing education hour. So this will be an hour in duration. You'll have to have watched for the full duration of the webinar to receive a certificate. If you'd like that certificate, once you finish viewing, just email us, webinars@lsvtglobal.com. Let us know you would like a certificate, and then we'll email that over, usually pretty quickly, within 2 weeks, but usually just, a day or two. If you're watching on demand, you will have to take a survey to request that certificate, and there's a link to take that survey underneath the webinar description, either in our YouTube channel or in our LSVT Global website. All right, so we'll get into our presentation here. So we have some learning objectives. And first, what we want to do today is talk about why community resources matter. So we know that Parkinson's care doesn't stop when formal therapy ends. It's ongoing. There's ongoing support in the community, and that's really essential for maintaining, progress and quality of life. Some people access those resources before therapy, after therapy. We'll talk about how there's kind of this continuity of care between resources and therapy, especially the ones that we do at LSVT Global. That's what we'll talk about today. Next, we'll look at the different types of support available. So there are things like exercise programs, support groups, education, advocacy, and caregiver resources so that you can better understand what's out there for you. Then we'll focus on how to choose the right fit. So not every resource is the right, fit for every person. So we'll introduce a simple framework to really help you match to your individual needs, preferences, and maybe where you are, in your Parkinson's journey. We'll also explore strategies to help maintain gains from LSVT Big and LSVT Loud for anyone who's done those programs or who may be interested in them. And we'll talk about how those structured programs and that community integration can support long-term carryover of a louder voice, bigger movements. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some practical actionable steps so that you can walk away with clear ideas for how to get started and connect with meaningful resources right away. And we want to just quickly launch a polling question so that we know who's in the audience today. So this can help us know, kind of how to tailor the content and see kind of what variety we have. So Jenny, if you want to launch the poll, let us know if you're an LSVT Big or LSVT Loud certified therapist, if you're a PT, OT, or speech therapist that's not LSVT certified, if you're a person with Parkinson's or a family member or other health professional. So I see those coming in. We've got about half so far. All right, so we'll just have a few more moments for that to be open. Okay, it looks like we have a good mix here. All right. And I think those results are sharing. All right, so just under half are LSVT Big or LSVT Loud therapists here. And then we have people with Parkinson's or other neurological conditions, and then also some family members or friends. All right, so a good mix. Thank you for participating. Okay, so we know today that movement is medicine, and maybe that's a phrase that you've heard before. And this slide, this is a particular kind of manifesto from the National Exercise Advocacy Team, or NEAT. And this was part of a presentation that our organization participated in last year. So we know that over the past 2 decades, research and practice have really established that rehabilitation and exercise are essential to living well with Parkinson's. And evidence shows they not only mitigate symptoms and improve quality of life, but they may also potentially influence disease progression. And these community-based programs can add further value by really fostering that social connection, reducing isolation, and enhancing overall well-being. And while we're excited about all that and we have the evidence, exercise and rehab programs for Parkinson's still remain underutilized. They're often overlooked by medical professionals and funders, and there's systemic barriers sometimes. So these can include inconsistent referrals, limited awareness, insufficient training, and kind of weaker community connections, which continue unfortunately to limit participation for those who could truly benefit. And then in some data from Pearson et al., we're looking at some Medicare data. We know that therapy is consistently underutilized for people with Parkinson's, and you'll see the numbers there. Fewer than 1 in 5 are using physical therapy. Fewer than 1 in 10 are using occupational or speech therapy. So why is this topic so critical right now? The landscape of Parkinson's care is evolving with a strong emphasis on that continuity that I was mentioning. So we have advances in neuroplasticity research, so that neuroplasticity meaning changes in the brain. They consistently show us the need for lifelong intensive engagement. So we know that community-based neurorehabilitation is becoming a cornerstone of modern Parkinson's management, and patients are asking, what happens after discharge if they've been in therapy with us? And then we as clinicians must have a clear, confident answer, and we want to integrate community resources directly to help maintain salience, like we talk about in treatment, so that salience, kind of meaningful tasks and connections. And then another principle we call use it or lose it. So basically using the behaviors that you want to continue improving, such as a louder voice or bigger movements. So we want to use it to improve it rather than lose it. So if we're not practicing, the louder voice, the bigger movements, whatever it is that you want to work on, then we can lose it. So that's one of those principles of neuroplasticity. So we want to make sure that we can maintain the gains that are achieved in therapy. And so this shift directly impacts the entire care journey. And I want to show you a video. These are some of our favorite friends from LSVT, and they're talking a little bit about LSVT, but really the idea of exercise and engagement in a community. They found this maybe initially through LSVT, but all of these individuals expanded it through other areas such as dance, other exercise programs, activity, advocacy, volunteering. So we'll listen to some of their pearls of wisdom here.
First of all, I want to say that I also take on this mindset that exercise is my primary medication. Levodopa helps, yes, it does, but I think of exercise as being my primary medication.
So I'm actually in the best shape of my life, deteriorating neurological condition aside, and it's phenomenal. It really is. I'm not cured, but I am better.
Right now I believe that if I keep working harder and harder, I'm going to get better and better. I believe that, I believe that I won't go downhill.
We may only have one thing in common, basically, and that's Parkinson's. But that commonality has brought us together on so many different levels, and it's heartwarming.
So I think it's very helpful to hear it straight from those that these programs are designed to impact. And so connecting with others isn't just a nice idea, it does truly drive better outcomes in Parkinson's. So when you build relationships with people who understand your journey, you gain invaluable connection. And you kind of heard Margie and Leon and Gary talking about that. And this connection also builds confidence, so giving you the self-assurance to manage your symptoms and advocate for your care. You'll also find opportunities for learning, accessing shared knowledge and evidence-based strategies. And all of this can help fuel motivation, so helping you stay inspired and accountable through collective encouragement. And ultimately, it's about reducing isolation, so breaking that cycle of loneliness by engaging with a supportive community. So what does that landscape of support actually look like? We'll go through some of the resources. And with LSVT Loud and LSVT Big specifically, we have this comprehensive plan of care. So when we think about what we're doing in therapy, we typically have episodic care. So we're physical, occupational, speech therapists. Oftentimes we're doing evaluations. We deliver 1 month of treatment, LSVT Loud or LSVT Big, and then we have these tune-ups that may be lifelong. So we have them, about every 6 months. And it's sort of like a dental model. So you go to the dentist, you get your teeth cleaned, you're coming back in 6 months for that maintenance. So it's kind of this ongoing circulation. And then we have this wellness and fitness between episodes of care. So we want to encourage that daily home practice of the exercises, and some individuals may seek one-to-one exercise with a professional, or there's many group exercise classes for Parkinson's. And then some people may first encounter wellness and fitness and then eventually come to therapy. And in other cases, they start in therapy and eventually go to wellness and fitness, kind of going back and forth between the two. So the more tightly connected we can be between our therapy and these other resources, we can better facilitate these interactions. And what do we think of as a community resource? You'll see on the right side of your slide here an abundance of logos. And so it's really exciting to see, all the organizations that are working to improve the lives of people with Parkinson's, find a cure, advocate. They all have different missions, and there's a lot of different types of programs. You have exercise programs, support groups, educational resources, caregiver support, patient education, advocacy. And these come in many forms. So there's nonprofit or more foundation-based, but there's also many for-profit companies that have a social responsibility. Some of the drug companies fund and support some of these community programs for people with Parkinson's, as well as healthcare organizations. And then we can also tap into things like national community organizations. So we have programs like the YMCA, Silver Sneaker programs, and in some cases, they do have them specifically for people with Parkinson's. And when you're looking at groups, it can help to understand the different formats available. So there's peer-led groups, and they focus on social connection, offering shared lived experiences and more of an informal supportive setting. Then there are more professionally guided or facilitated groups, and those are led by clinical experts who provide structured symptom management and evidence-based guidance. Many groups are condition specific, so you can find some that are focused solely on Parkinson's, offering targeted discussions and relevant research updates. And then you have choices in how you participate. So in person for local physical connection, virtual for lower barriers to access if transportation or mobility are difficult, or you're just in a more rural area and it's harder to get to things in person. Or even sometimes there's hybrid options, like we do a class where we have some virtual LSVT, or we do Loud for Life, and then sometimes the class meets in person. So some of those also have a hybrid option. And so this flexibility means that there's likely a format that will fit your need, whatever it may be. You may be thinking, this sounds like a lot of options. I don't even know where to start. How do I decide? Where do I begin? So we'll walk you through kind of how to prioritize and choose what can be right for you. So when we're thinking about what resources we have, once we've kind of tapped into what's available in our community, we want to tailor those resources to your individual needs. So prioritizing your needs is kind of key to choosing the right fit. So it's about asking, what do I need most right now? Some might prioritize information, so seeking expert knowledge, practical management strategies. Others might focus more on that movement or wellness, wanting to maintain that physical activity and balance. And for many, connection is paramount. So you're looking for that social support, shared experience to reduce that isolation. And we know that many individuals are strongly connected to advocacy work, so promoting awareness, working to improve rights and care for those with Parkinson's, raising funds for a cure. And then we also want to be considering logistics like time, energy levels, whether it's a virtual or local format that would work best. So these are some things to keep in mind as you're prioritizing, what resources may fit your lifestyle and needs right now. The next kind of series of slides, we're going to highlight a few examples of organizations of the larger categories. And again, the handout that Jenny just linked in the webinar, and then you also had in your email, that is going to have many, many more options. There's too many to go into depth in just an hour-long format here, but we want you to know, the different types that are available, and then some examples in each category. And even that list that we give you, it would be impossible to have a fully exhaustive list of options. So some of the categories, we kind of name the major organizations, and then we give you some examples of local organizations, more so that you can see the types of organizations that reside in smaller communities, and you can see if there's something like that where you live. So we have some examples of that on the resource list as well. So we'll take a look at some of the larger organizations here, and we'll kind of break it down by need. So you can think about what the need or the desire is that you're trying to get out of a resource, and these are some places that you could look. So when the need really is for connection and support, organizations like the PMD Alliance, so the Parkinson and Movement Disorder Alliance, can be a good fit. So this organization works hard to connect people impacted by movement disorders to education opportunities, support, and community resources. And they have a lot of free resources available on their website. So it can be helpful for patients and families looking for connection, conversation, and guidance beyond a therapy visit. And they have very special programming. So it can be a good fit for someone who might be feeling isolated, overwhelmed, or in need of a broader support network. And I did want to highlight they have a directory of resources. So this is a new directory they launched and updated this year. And if the clinicians on the webinar here today, if you or your facility offer programs, you can also get added to this directory. So they have exercise classes, resources. So this tool is really a good, kind of tool for patients to find and get matched with different groups in their community. So it can be useful, again, when patients and families are feeling isolated, overwhelmed, and in need of some support. The next one is, oftentimes we'll get patients, in particular those who may be initially diagnosed, they're very passionate about advocacy and action. And the PD Avengers is a global organization that really fits and meets that need. So it's patient-led advocacy, and it's an alliance that focuses on awareness, action, and collaboration. So I don't know if you saw any of the Spark the Night activity that happened on World Parkinson Day on April 11th, where the goal was to light up the world in blue lights. That was all driven through the PD Avengers. So this can be an organization that's helpful for individuals who want to engage and contribute and advocate and feel some part of something, kind of larger than themselves. So it's a good fit when individuals or care partners asks, how can I get involved? So it's useful when your next step is voice and purpose and engagement. And when the need is living well, wellness habits, the Davis Phinney Foundation for Parkinson's is a really great organization for that. It was founded by Davis Phinney. He's a former Olympic cyclist who had young onset Parkinson's disease. And when he started the foundation, he and his wife, Connie, they looked to the needs. They recognized that there were groups out there already that were really focused on how do we find a cure. So for example, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, for example. So their focus was really on, we know a cure may come, we're very hopeful for that, but we have to live well today with Parkinson's. So how can we help in that aspect? So it focuses on living well through practice tools, exercise, and lifestyle-based resources. It can be helpful for patients who are asking, what can I do day to day to stay engaged and proactive in managing the disease? And one of the flagship programs that we have listed here is Pedaling for Parkinson's. And that's an example of a practical exercise and wellness engagement. And it's a very good bridge, for example, for someone who's done intensive LSVT loud or LSVT big treatment to get into an additional mindset of self-management and wellness habits. So this is a good fit for someone who is ready for practical self-management and healthy routines. And then what about those who are in need of ongoing exercise engagement? So some people may need more than just advice. They want to keep exercising or start exercising. They may need structure and community, accountability, enjoyment to sustain participation. And so the good news is there's many, many programs. Again, more than we can list on a slide or even a handout. There's programs like Rock Steady Boxing, and those can be found, all over. And for that, I've seen, if you go to their website and you find your local branch, even if you need an online option, you can go to your local branch, and a lot of them will offer these Rock Steady Boxing classes online via Zoom too, in addition to their local offerings. There's dance for PD, ping pong for Parkinson's. There's a new Parkinson climbing group. One of our Irish, actually Gary in the video, he does Irish set dancing through a group in Dublin. So there's a lot of great programs out there to help with that ongoing exercise engagement. Tai Chi is another one that we know of. So this can really extend that continuity of care beyond that episode of treatment, or again, potentially even before beginning treatment. So getting into this good habit. And we say that really the best exercise program is one that a person will consistently do. So we know that it's personalized and individualized across different people. So find something that motivates you, that you connect with. And if it's one that you'll stick to, that's going to be the best fit for you. And then next, when you have needs that are LSVT specific through education and follow through, I'm going to have Jenny take over this section, and she'll go through some of these that are a little more LSVT specific.
Perfect. Thanks, Beth, for that lead into that. So we're going to talk just a little bit about some more things that are specific to LSVT, as Beth said. And one of those things are our postgraduate classes. So if you are someone that has done the 4 weeks of LSVT Big or LSVT Loud, or you're a clinician that is thinking about how this might work, we have these class opportunities available after you complete your formal therapy. So Loud for Life is meant for people that have completed their 4 weeks of LSVT Loud. Big for Life is meant for people that have completed their 4 weeks of Big for Life, or sorry, of LSVT Big. Now, any of our LSVT Big or LSVT Loud certified therapists can take an additional online training to learn how to lead these group exercise classes. So these classes can be found in your community. Maybe the clinic you went to for therapy also offers these classes. Maybe a neighboring facility or somewhere in your area has these classes. The goals in Loud for Life are really to create this environment to practice in a class environment, you keeping your voice loud and strong, practicing your exercises together, and it really trying to help enhance some of that motivation. Big for Life then is focused on those LSVT big exercises, the movement, the actual exercises themselves, the functional tasks, and really trying to keep that same level of effort in a group environment with practicing. If an in-person class is not available to you and you still want to be involved in something like that, or if you just simply prefer joining from the comfort of your home, there are virtual options available for both of those. And you may find out about a virtual option through where you went to therapy. And if you don't have that option through a more local connection, we do have LSVT for Life, which is a platform that we created through LSVT Global. And we offer Big for Life and Loud for Life classes each week. So it really provides this opportunity for people to join us from not just in the States, but all over the world and come exercise with our instructors that are leading those classes. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about really the benefits of being a part of that and what that looks like. So if you were to join a virtual class such as LSVT for Life, what we feature in those programs is that we exercise via Zoom. I can't talk today. We exercise via Zoom, just like we're on today for the webinar. So people have a specific class at a specific time that you log in and you join. They're led by LSVT certified clinicians. For Big for Life, as an example, we're going to practice our 7 maximal daily exercises. We're then going to get into functional practice too. So we will have a theme for that class. For example, the last time I taught a class, I think our theme was money matters. So we're going to practice the functional activities related to managing money. Maybe it's getting that credit card or ID out of your wallet that's always so difficult to pull out, managing coins, dollar bills, signing your name on a check, thinking about bringing bigger amplitude into function-specific tasks related to that theme. Same with those virtual Loud for Life classes. They're going to practice their ahs and their highs and their lows, and then they're going to get into actually practicing some functional communication related to a theme. Some examples of themes they might do is let's come prepared to talk about your favorite song or your favorite musician, favorite album, something like that. And that might be the theme for the week, where you come prepared to have a conversation. They may partner you up with someone else in a small group to actually practice that functional communication related to that theme. Outside of the actual task of practicing your exercises and your functional communication or functional movements, is it also brings this environment of allowing you to connect with other people that are doing the same exercise routines, living with similar diagnoses, and really can help you sustain those gains through creating a community. So having you moving big, talking loud, long after your initial therapy ends. And these images on this slide are actually from our actual Loud for Life and Big for Life classes, some of our participants that join, and they all live all over the country, all over the world, and they've all become friends, gotten to know each other, and connected in a way that works for them. So it's really a great supportive environment to share and practice with others when led by a skilled clinician who's leading that class for you. What we're going to hear next is a little bit of a video interview of some of our members and former members kind of talking about what being a part of LSVT for Life means to them.
We go to these different classes together. We dance together. We speak loud together. Camaraderie is, it's hard to put words to it because there's a different bonding that took place probably from day one. And I think one of the things that we do the best of all is we laugh together. I have never been to a Loud class, the Loud for Life class on Zoom with this international group, and there has not been laughter throughout the whole hour and a half or hour and 10 minutes that we're together.
It's incredible. You bring together, 15 or 20 strangers who've never met before, who don't know each other, and within 10 or 15 minutes everybody's talking, and then everybody's doing their loud ahs and their up and down ahs, and after even the first meeting there was that sense that this was something special, and this is doing something on so many levels. It's certainly helping us with our dialogue and our speaking and being sure that we're going to do our practice and stuff like that, but it's giving people a real sense of connection and a sense of worth, really, because Parkinson's is supposed to kind of ruin everything. It does, but I mean, we can fight back, and this is something that has made such a difference. And if a bunch of strangers can meet on the internet every week and shout at each other and have a bit of fun at the same time, I think that says something quite amazing.
Although we're so far apart, it's like we're right there together, and learning to be loud has helped in that we're able to talk, and keep the communication going.
It's something that I look forward to doing. I do it every Friday, so it's a routine, and there's somewhat of accountability that I show up, which is very helpful. I think that primarily the social aspects of the class is what I enjoy the most.
All of a sudden, there was finally something that I personally could control. I could do it, and it actually, I could see improvement because of it and progress because of it. And that was such a great thing for me.
And it gives us the ability and the comfort to know that if I was struggling with being loud, that they would feel comfortable to tell me to speak up or to repeat it a little louder the next time.
The confidence that I've got, that I've gained out of being, like having done LSVT Loud, but particularly being part of this group, has allowed me to
Good. Okay, it stopped for me, Beth. Did it also for you?
challenge some of the kind of the golden calves, the rules about Parkinson's over here, that, as you said, here's your prescription, but everything is going to fade and you're going to kind of slip away. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. From day one, we're on mission to fight this thing. And groups like this, although there aren't many groups like this is kind of unique, but we're so lucky to be in such a group.
I mean, we really have a gift that we have to give, We can't just sit here and keep it to ourselves. We somehow got to help those others that are out there that don't know a thing about it.
So this really is just talking about our LSVT for Life program in particular, because that's what we do and that's what we have access to talk to people about. But I think if you were to talk to people that got involved in a group, whether it was this or Rock Steady Boxing or pedaling or a support group or something that's out there, they would all probably have similar things to say, that the connection, the social interaction is such an important piece of that, even maybe more than what you're actually doing when you're there. But it is really a great ability to connect with others. So on the next slide, if you're looking for more LSVT specific opportunities, there are a lot of resources that we offer. We can find a clinician from the clinician search tool on our website. We have a whole patients and families section that's full of educational opportunities. If you've not visited our LSVT Global YouTube channel, I'd highly recommend it. There's lots of great videos. Our podcast lives there. Our on-demand recordings of our community webinars, like this one that you're attending right now, will live there after it is over as well. So lots of opportunities to learn more, lots of great resources that are out there. It just takes a matter of going and taking a look and finding the things that you feel fit you the best, or as a clinician, fit your patients the best on what you could provide. Now, let's not forget about those wonderful care partners and supporting the supporters as well. So when we talk about things like support groups, activities like that, there are caregiver support groups too. So if you're a family member, a friend, a confidant of someone living with this diagnosis, you may have some unique needs as well about really trying to find education to understand how to best support the person you love, the person that's in your life that's living with this diagnosis. Safe spaces to really share your feelings as well, and practical skills and tools that maybe worked for others and that they share with you and could help you in a situation as well. In my facility where I worked for 17 years, we actually had a support group, and it eventually became really obvious that while the people were in the support group, some of the spouses decided to just stay in the lobby and talk with each other. They were naturally creating their own little caregiver support group by sitting in the lobby talking. And we decided, hey, why don't we make an actual support group for you guys as well and give some structure to that? Maybe bring in some speakers, share some resources. So there's some really nice in-person and even virtual caregiver support groups that are available out there. So allowing you to really connect and navigate these life changes and challenges of living with a new diagnosis in your household or with a very good friend or whoever it might be. Some key questions that you might want to share before you join certain groups is just, who is it for? Am I in the right place? Is this appropriate for me? Is it a facilitated group or class, or is it something where you're more self-exercising, self-directed? What are the costs associated with that? I mean, you may find things that are free, others may have a cost associated with them. And then really, are these groups in person? Is there a virtual option if I can't do the in-person option? And then of course, how do I register and how do I connect? So these can all be some really great questions to just put out there when you're considering joining a class or a group that is available. I'm next going to share just a couple of case studies, just demonstrating that. So this is a gentleman who participated in LSVT big therapy. 68 years old. He had finished his LSVT big therapy. He was previously an athlete, and previous athletes are really fun to work with all the time. I love when I get oh, I was a football player back in the day. I've got these bad knees from that. And I'm like, okay, then you know how to work. You know what it takes to work hard and exercise. So this gentleman clearly enjoyed being challenged and having exercise opportunities, and was seeking a way to continue to reinforce his therapy gains once his therapy was over. So it was recommended to him that he consider joining something like rock steady boxing, something where there is like amplitude and effort. So it doesn't mean that he's not going to keep doing his LSVT big exercises. In fact, we definitely want him doing those LSVT big exercises every day. But in addition to that, he joined and went to rock steady boxing classes a couple times a week. This really complements LSVT very well. It's high intensity, it's amplitude. They're really very great, very well complementing of each other. The two programs work very well together. The result of this is he was able to maintain those big movements through this high intensity group exercise. He was getting the social motivation of being a part of a group and a team, and he reported a lot of enjoyment out of being a part of this exercise approach. So really helped him to carry forward his motivation to continue to be successful with using amplitude in his daily life. The second example is more on the LSVT loud side of things. And this was a 72-year-old female who had already completed her 4 weeks of LSVT loud, living with her husband in a more rural area. So some of the concerns were transportation, access to classes. There weren't a lot of things available in her nearby community to make it easy for her to get there. But she still wanted an opportunity to have more social interaction and that accountability for practice. Like you heard in that LSVT for Life video, like keeping me accountable. There's an expectation that I show up, that I be there and I practice. So for this person, it was recommended that she get connected with a virtual Loud for Life class. This would allow her to join from the comfort of her home, no transportation necessary, no worry about driving in the winter in bad weather, things like that. So she was going to continue with her LSVT Loud exercises every day on her own. And then she was joining these Loud for Life classes once or twice a week to be able to practice in that group environment and be able to share conversation, social interaction with that group. A result of that was that her quote was, I love catching up with my new friends each week. So, creating this environment where you're meeting and connecting with people you might not have otherwise met. She was able to maintain that loud voice at a conversational level, reported her continued daily practice, and had some accountability. We in our classes, like our Loud for Life classes, like to do challenges from time to time too. That's kind of a fun thing to do. It's fun to do around like sporting events, or like this year it was the Olympics. It was the gold medal challenge. For those who could practice every day and turn their form in were entered into a drawing to win. So having that accountability really helps to keep things going. And she was in attendance in those classes approximately 90% of the time. So it was something she looked forward to and joined as often as she could. So you may be thinking this is a ton of information. And if you look at that resource list we sent out, there is a ton of information on there. But it's really meant to just give you something in your hands that you could look at and think, this is what I really need, or this is what I'm missing. This is what I'd like to get involved with. And what are some examples of opportunities that are out there for me? So our best recommendation is just pick one thing, try it out, identify a single organization, exercise program, support group, something that maybe resonates with your current needs, and attend at least once. Check it out, see what you think. Maybe you join and you're like, oh, this is not for me. That's totally fine. Try something different. But if you join it and you're like, okay, I think I like this, I want to come back again next week. Most places, even if there is a fee, will offer a free trial for something. For example, with our LSVT for Life, there's a free 30-day trial. So you can really come and attend classes for 4 weeks. See if you like it. If you don't have to purchase a membership, and you tried it and that was okay. But it gives you an opportunity to really see, is this a good fit for me? And a lot of things will have that. If you don't see that widely posted, you can always ask, is there an opportunity for me to come audit a class or try a class without signing up first, just to see if I like this opportunity? Maybe bookmark an educational site that you really like. If you're, using your iPad or phone or computer to do some research, that makes it really easy for you to go back again to that site and ask those questions. And, share with a partner, discuss what you found with your care partner or loved one. Maybe there are some other complementary things that they could get involved with as well. It really does not need to be a complex plan. Just pick one meaningful thing to start and see what you think. And for those clinicians that are out there listening as well, if you're looking for ways to get involved, some of those bigger organizations, those local community organizations, they always are looking for volunteers, for people to help out. For example, with PD Avengers that Beth shared earlier, I go to their partner meetings because our company is a partner with them every month. But in addition to that, I helped with the Spark the Night campaign. All I had to do was find places that I could submit applications to. That's a grassroots, group of people from all different backgrounds. I also work on our wellness committee, working on creating handouts and information to decrease stigma about Parkinson's in places like Africa, where there's still a lot of stigma there. So there are so many opportunities to get involved as a therapist, as a person with Parkinson's, as a loved one. If you really have that drive to get involved, reach out and see where you might find a good fit and connect with people. Some key takeaways then from what we've presented today is Parkinson's care is continuous. It's not like you had a knee replacement and it's over. Parkinson's is something we're going to live with, and we're going to live well with, right? We're going to do our best to live our best life despite this diagnosis. And so really take advantage of opportunities that are out there to get involved, be active. We really know that use it or lose it is a real thing. So connect with exercise opportunities you enjoy, people that you enjoy, environments you like to be in, to really help keep you motivated. And the best resource is really the one that fits your needs, your energy, and your goals and preferences. So a lot of that comes down to, what do you want to do? What do you want to try? These community resources are really a critical part of staying active, staying connected, and finding things even beyond yourself that you can feel like you have some control. Like Mike said in that video you saw, like, I finally found something I could control. And for him, it was exercise. So finding something that can give you a little control. Find those structures that help maintain your long-term gains, especially if you're someone that has done LSVT Big or LSVT Loud. What are ways that I can practice those things? In fact, starting next week on our YouTube channel, you will find some new sampler sessions of LSVT Loud and LSVT Big. If you're looking for some theme-based sampler sessions, ways to practice with that. So watch for those to show up starting next week. We also recognize that there's so many types of support and exercise. So find what you need, start small, and move on from there. And, one step at a time as you go down this path. On the next slide, we referenced the NEAT organization early on. So just a little bit about what that organization is. It's a national exercise advocacy team that has come together to collaborate to create healthy Parkinson's communities. And you can see the logos of the companies that have gotten involved already in trying to kind of come together and connect. And if you're attending World Parkinson's Congress at the end of May, this NEAT group will all be there, representatives from all these companies doing some renewal room practices, things like that. So if you're there, Phoenix, Arizona, Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend, I will be there. Come find us, meet up with us, say hello. But these groups are all working together to really connect and gain additional resources, make information easy for people to connect and find. So that's the end of our presented content. We do have some time to take questions. So a couple of opportunities for asking questions is you can type your question in the Q&A box, excuse me, in the Q&A box or in the chat. And if you've put questions in there already, we will go back and we'll find those and start going through some of those questions. You also have the opportunity to raise your hand. It's a little button on your Zoom profile that you can raise your hand. And I know if you're like me, a question's going to pop into your head after the webinar is over and you think, why didn't I ask that? Well, you always have the option to email your questions in to webinars@lsvtglobal.com and we'll be sure to get back to you with an answer. So I'll go to the last slide here just to thank you for attending before we take a moment to answer some questions. One little thing is there will be a pop-up survey after the webinar is over today. It's short and sweet, but please fill it out for us. It'll display right after the webinar is over. If for some reason it doesn't display and you've got some good feedback and want to complete that survey, it will also be emailed to you one day after the webinar is over. So you'll have a couple opportunities to do that. We love your feedback. We develop our webinar schedule for the year based on what people want, what they're looking for. So give us feedback on what you thought of this one and other future ideas on what you'd like to see for us to do for you. So it'll be really quick. If you are a therapist that wants to self-report for continuing education units, you make sure you do fill out that survey so we know you were here. That's the way you're going to get a certificate for actually attending the webinar today. All right, well, thank you for all of that. You can see here our general email also is info@lsvtglobal.com and our website if you're searching for more information. From there, I'm going to turn it back over to Beth to see if we have had some questions come in and we can go through and answer some of those.
All right, thank you, Jenny. That was great information shared. So we have had a couple come through. So I'll start with one about speech, and then I have one about movement for you next.
Okay.
So this person says, thank you. So yes, you're welcome. We're glad you're here today. There are patients whose speech organs have been severely affected by rigidity. The pronunciation of the vowel ah lasts only about 2 seconds, which is very short. So what can we do to help them improve and reach a better condition as researchers and assistants working with Parkinson's patients? So yeah, it's a great question. So as a speech language pathologist, when we do LSVT loud treatment, for those who aren't as familiar with it, it's a 4-week intensive program and we build in a hierarchy. So we certainly have patients who come in with Parkinson's who have an ah, so something like ah, and they can only do it for a couple seconds before they can't keep going anymore. They lose the quality or the loudness. And so it's really just something that we build up throughout the course of treatment. So whenever we're doing our exercises, we really say to stick with it. So as a clinician, when someone has a short ah, that's okay. I'd rather that they have a short duration ah that has good loudness and quality. And then it's something I'm just going to build on over time because the protocol is intensive. They're getting lots of practice every day doing that exercise. They're improving their speech muscles, and so they're strengthening them. They're strengthening their voice box, their larynx, so that Throughout the course of treatment, likely the duration will improve because you're teaching them healthy vocal habits and you're strengthening their speech mechanism. So it's something that I say, don't focus too much on the duration. When someone has good loudness and good quality, I work from them from that and then expand that duration over time. In an LSVT loud session, we're spending about 10 minutes on the ahs. Some people who can go for a long duration will do about 15 ahs. For someone who can only do it for a few seconds, I'm not going to just stop after 15 because that may only take, 5 minutes or so. So for them, I'm going to do multiple repetitions of the shorter ah, and I'm gradually building up their strength and endurance across the 4 weeks of treatment. So, and with that also, you can also see during stimulability testing. So before starting treatment, during the assessment, you can see when you're modeling and cueing for ah, if you can get a better voice. And that's a big part of the treatments too, is that we model. So we're showing them what to do. Can we elicit, maybe a longer ah or a stronger ah through our model? So that's how I would, kind of see if someone's a good candidate. If I like what I see there and I'm starting treatment, I would gradually build on that throughout the course of treatment to, work on that good strength and endurance. All right, and so the next one, so Jenny, I think you know a little more about rock steady boxing and dance for PD. So this person wants to know what's the difference between those and, which one should they try or what do you recommend for certain people?
Yeah, so Rocksteady Boxing was developed out of Indiana, and it was the idea of getting people boxing with Parkinson's. So it's really focused a lot on movements, reactions, amplitude, effort, things like that. So it is very boxing specific. Dance for PD on the other end of the thing is very dance specific. So that came out of Mark Morris and his group out of New York. And it's really about the idea of bringing that fluidity of movement and still amplitude, the big movements, the balance, the coordination, that is important with Parkinson's. They both are great programs. And I think deciding on participating in one of them would really be a personal preference. You might be someone who's like, oh, boxing, that sounds fun. Dancing, no way. I would never do that. So, it really is a personal preference. They are amazing programs created by really wonderful people. And I would just explore based on your interest area.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny. One thing I'm going to add, something I didn't realize, is that for Rock City Boxing, for the clinicians out there, you don't have to be a PT or OT. There's also speech pathologists who get trained in that too. So I thought that was really neat to know.
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right,
and even fitness people as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've seen a couple more come through. So one asking if you, Jenny, or I do Zoom guest speaking to groups. So yes, we can do that. You could email info@lsvtglobal.com. Tell us what type of group, what type of presentation you're looking for, and we'd certainly be happy to talk more about that and figure out a good solution for you. But yeah, we'd be happy to do that. Okay, this one, so I think this is a clinician. So they want to know how to find patients. So they do LSVT and go to the patient's houses. So home health care. So Jenny, do you have any tips on how to find patients
Yes.
LSVT?
Well, first thing, most important thing is check to make sure that your profile and information is up to date on our website so that when people click on find LSVT clinicians, that you show up in their filter. And you can log in through the clinician login on that same website to check, make sure everything's up to date. The number one most important thing is that you have an organization listed. And an organization means the company you work for, the address and area of that location. Now with doing home care, sometimes the mothership of the organization is in a different area and location than you cover. So you could get a little creative with that address. Most are going to search by zip code. So if there's a certain zip code that's central to the region you service, that would be a great, great feedback on what specific address you're putting in there to be found. In addition to that, get out and market that you provide these resources. When I first got started, I showed up at local Parkinson's events, maybe where there was a movement disorders neurologist or a neurologist or a physician that was speaking on Parkinson's. I'd get there early, go shake their hand, introduce myself, let them know who I worked with or for and what I did, and pass on a business card. That is amazingly helpful. In fact, after I did that at one event, I got referrals for years and years and years that specifically said LSVT Big with Jenny Tessito. He sent all of his patients that lived in my area to me. So that is a really great resource of making that personal connection. Also get out and talk to support groups. So patient driven, if you go talk to a support group, you make connections. Or in those assisted living facilities, things like that, then they could go to their doctor and ask for a referral. And they're like, I know who I want. I want to be treated by this home health agency. I met a therapist that works there. So those can be some really great opportunities on ways to get out and market yourself and help get patients that you can treat appropriately with LSVT Big or LSVT Loud.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny. Really helpful there. And I'm going to have you take this one too, just because I think you know more on what's happening in this area. But are there any certified clinicians in China that could provide LSVT? And if yes, where can I find the information?
That is a fantastic question. So China is a country we've been working with a lot recently to bring certification opportunities to their therapists. We did our first LSVT Big certification course in China last year. So there were therapists that attended and got certified. And we have done LSVT Loud as well. LSVT Loud, we actually created an online certification course that is fully in Chinese, translated to Chinese, that therapists can sign up for and get certified to deliver the treatment. In LSVT Big, we just did the same thing. We are in the midst of creating that online certification course, all in Chinese, and it's being tested by reviewers at this moment and should be widely available within a few weeks. So if you know clinicians that are interested in getting certified, they do need to be physical therapy, occupational therapy for LSVT Big, speech therapy for LSVT Loud, but those courses are available. To find anyone who's currently certified, again, you can use that Find LSVT Clinicians search tool on our website to look. And if you're not finding people pulling up, send us an email. We can look back office wise too and see if maybe there are more clinicians in the area that we could reach out to see if there's some available.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. That's exciting. All right. I think I'm just double checking. I think that's all the questions that have come through today. So thank you for joining us. Again, if you think of a question later, feel free to email us or follow up on anything we discussed. We're happy to take additional emails. We're really glad you were here with us for this hour. So thank you, Jenny, for your great knowledge and expertise. And we hope to see more of you again next time on another webinar.
Thank you.